Hi, I'm Doug McKinlay and you're watching Adorama TV. We're here in County Waterford in Ireland and it's springtime. Today for this segment we're going to look at how to make better springtime pictures, and at the same time we're going to explore the histogram and its importance to digital photography.
Adorama TV presents Stay Focused with Doug McKinlay.
So spring pictures wouldn't be spring pictures without a few flowers. So what we're going to do here is, being the avid gardener that I am, these are the purple beasties I'm going to shoot. But I'm going to use a 100mm macro lens so I get it nice and tight. It's a 2.8 macro, so I can get some pretty fast shutter speeds even at 100 ISO. And I'm just using the tripod to steady myself, really waiting for the light to sort of hit the right spot, checking the exposure. That's not bad. Now I'm just going to change position a little bit and go handheld. Just drop this down here for a second. Now I can get real close with this macro, 0.31 of a meter. We got to make sure we've got enough shutter speed to freeze the action, but alternatively we could slow the shutter down a little bit. Let's try that. We'll slow the shutter down. We'll wait for the wind to pick up, and maybe we'll get a little bit of a impressionistic Monet kind of look. You can see that it's a little bit blurry, a little bit of movement, a little bit impressionistic. So we're going to continue with our spring shots, and we're going to still use some flowers, in this case some daffodils. Now there's a few things we should think about before we sort of get to it. Think about the ISOs for starters. Do you need to have a higher ISO to get the shutter speed you need to freeze the action, if that's what you're looking for? Your lens choice, it can be, before we used a 100mm macro, but it could be anything. It could be a 50mm 1.4, it could be a 24-70 short zoom, or a 70-200 longer zoom. It just really depends what you want to put in the backgrounds, if anything. Our aperture choices, now we can really get really tight with our depth of field at 2.8, so we got a real blurred background, or we can get greater depth of field at f8 or f11 to bring that background a little more. We could use the landscape rules, the rules of thirds, the linear lines, etc., to try and make the picture a little bigger than the flower itself. It's completely up to the photographers, their creative tools. The other thing I think that we should think about is the metering modes, like spot metering, center weighted, or multi. Now I think spot metering is quite a cool little tool because you can really zone in on the color of the flower. I'll just do that one right now. So just change your metering to spot, set the aperture that you want to use. For this one I'm going to use around 4, and the appropriate shutter speed according to the meter. So I want to focus on the back flowers and blur the front ones out. See, the sun's popping through, giving nice backlit, nicely backlit shots. It's gone again. You don't necessarily need bright sunny days. In fact, sometimes it becomes a bit too much and the colors get a little bit contrasty. So overcast days I think they give you a better depth of color when you're shooting this kind of stuff. But the backlight ones look really good too, though. We've got this really great wall of flowers here. Nice old stonework. It's going to give us a nice background. I'll swap the lens out for a 50mm, and I'm going to keep the aperture fairly wide, around f4ish, to give us a little narrower depth of field. Shutter speeds are going to be dictated by the light. The sun's popped out, so at the moment it's giving me 1,000th of a second with 100 ISO. So we should start maybe mention how we use our histograms at this point. Now the histogram is a good tool to use because, especially on a bright day, because when you look at the back of the screen, you don't necessarily always see the true sort of exposure. The light can throw it off. It just doesn't give you the right look. So if you look at the histogram, is a simple graph you can bring up on the back of your camera, and it is a more of a technical kind of view of the picture rather than the visual view you get from your viewfinder, which can sometimes be a little bit off, or if it's a really bright day, it's hard to really ascertain how well the exposure's looking. So our histogram is this simple graph. This exposure actually is quite nice, surprisingly. If the graph was piled up on the right, we'd be underexposed. If it was piled up on the left, we'd be overexposed. And if you see that on your histogram, then you have to adjust your exposure a little bit. So this is kind of nice, actually. I think I'll keep that one. Having said that, though, I don't get too bent out of shape about it. You know, we're working on the fly. I don't always have the time to sit back and look at the histograms. But if I'm really in doubt, that's when I'll start looking at the histograms. I quickly swapped out from my 50mm to back to the 100mm macro because I see some bumblebees getting nectar from the flowers. And the macro is a great lens for this kind of stuff. You get up nice and tight, nice and close. You have to be a little fast because those bees really do move. And I've got a ladybird here that I'm looking at. And I've got this 100mm macro on it still. And I'm going to try and see if I can isolate the ladybird on a leaf. A bit of patience, perseverance. It's center frame. Okay, it's not exactly rule of thirds, but we're working on the fly, so sometimes you have to take exceptions to the rules. But we got them nice and sharp. Got a whole variety of them here, so shoot more than you think you need with this kind of stuff. And don't forget to change your point of view. Get up high, get down low. So that's it for us for our spring tips. Now it's up to you just to get out there and try this stuff. I'm Doug McKinlay for Adorama TV. Now don't forget to subscribe to Adorama TV for more great videos. You can like, comment, or share in this video. And please stop by the Adorama Learning Center for more great tips and tricks.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.